The new baseball emulator is going to allow you to train the exact muscles you use for hitting and for throwing. Now, the homepage video described what the baseball emulator and the combo emulator could do. This video is going to explain to you how it accomplishes that and why the machine is designed to function the way it is. Now, the trainers built 30 years ago utilized a separate machine for batting and a separate machine for throwing. This machine combines all that into one machine, and this is going to save you a lot of money and a lot of space. Now, this machine also is going to provide the athletes some options that they could not utilize on their own without this machine. Now, before we get started with your workout, you need to know that you need a couple of small mirrors like this. You need to have one in front of you here, and you need to have one behind the machine. These machines are classified as neuromuscular trainers, and this has some implications that you don't get with just using gym equipment. So everyone's brain is different, and everyone's brain and body is going to interpret this resistance a little bit differently. When you can see what you're doing in these mirrors, you are witnessing how your brain is interpreting the command to swing this handle and emulate what a Major League Baseball player is doing when they're hitting. When you can't see yourself in these mirrors, you are a student that is clueless. With the mirrors, you become the teacher watching the student, and you become both of these entities simultaneously. So without these mirrors, you're never going to know if you're actually doing this workout correctly or not. But by using these mirrors, you're also going to be able to start to rely less on other batting and throwing instructors and start to become your own teacher. Now, here's an option you're not going to get by doing some other kind of training protocol. Let's say that you've got a full-ride scholarship and you're playing ball in college, or you've signed a pro contract and you're playing minor league baseball. And let's say you sustain a career-ending injury. With this technology, you're going to be able to set up your own training facility and make a good living. That's not something you're going to get just from training on gym equipment. Before I start to do a workout on the machine, let's talk about the swing model that I used to design this machine. I did not discover it, I did not create it, but I designed the machine to emulate it. And it is the home run swing of a Major League ball player in slow motion. Now, if you want to go to the source of this, you got to get on YouTube and look at the videos of these guys hitting. You don't go to a batting instructor, you don't go to a batting coach. Those are middlemen. The source is the video of the ball player themselves. And by watching this in slow motion, you're going to be able to see things that you may have never seen before. And what you want to do is, once you start playing the video, you want to stop the video at impact. You want to see what body position they're in at impact. You want to see where the feet are, where the hips are, where their shoulders are, the hands are. You want to look at all this stuff. Your brain can learn a lot just from watching this, especially if you're a teenager. So right before a Major League ball player gets ready to hit, they all do this kind of pre-swing stuff. But when it's time to hit the ball, they all go to the same spot and they do the same thing. And I call this the launch position. So launch position is when they take a step, the hands go back. They don't necessarily go back straight, but they go back like so. And from here, they're going to start to rotate. Now, when they're here, their body weight, their head is closer to their back foot than it is in the middle of the stance. So the weight is on their back foot, and they're going to rotate from here. And they're going to get to this point, and the front knee is going to be locked. This is impact position for a Major League ball player. Now, I'm not going to get into the details of what that is. There's a lot of stuff going on in that, but when you buy the machine, you will get that broken down into very minute details. So for now, I'm going to get on the machine and I'm going to show you how to use that same position, that impact position on the machine, the launch position and the impact position. Now, both the baseball emulator and the combo emulator, they're both sequence trainers. And what I mean by that is they're designed to force you to make this movement in a very specific muscle firing sequence. If you are a slap hitter or an arm swinger, this is going to beat you up. This is not for hitting for percentages. This is for hitting home runs. So this is going to force you to use your core muscles first, which are the strongest set of muscles you have to start your swing. This is the weakest set, and this is the strongest set. So this is going to force you to do that. If you're not doing that, this becomes extremely difficult to use. That's by design. You're going to be able to feel if you're using this correctly or not every time that you do the swing. So, I've already set up my foot rotation plate for this particular swing and this particular swing plane. So from here, I'm going to get in my launch position. My hands are going to go back a little bit, and I'm going to rotate from right here. And again, you're looking in the mirror as you're doing this, because when you're here, you want to make sure that this front arm and the bat handle are all in the same plane with the emulator here, like so. You're going to do 15 of these, and after the 15th one, you're going to do this last lever right here. You're not rolling your wrist, you're just firing this forward. Now, it is that simple, but it's a little bit more complicated than that when you actually try to do this. You need to be able to see yourself in the mirror do this. You need to see yourself in that mirror, and you need to see yourself in the mirror behind the machine also. And this mirror allows you to see whether or not your head's in the right spot, and if you are keeping your head in the right spot. Your head should not be moving while you're doing this. And to go left-handed, you know how that process works already. So that is how you start this process. Your workout, first day is going to be 2 sets of 15 reps. Second day, 3 sets of 15 reps. Third day, 4 sets of 15 reps. You do that every day for a week. You can do this every day. You can do this twice a day after the first week. And if you do this twice a day, you'll be able to do this after you play a game. This is not, even though I got weights in this, you can't be deceived by this. This is not weightlifting. Weightlifting is about focusing on one muscle and trying to make that muscle as big as possible. When you're on this machine, you're working out dozens of muscles at the same time. Because all those muscles are taking some of the load, this is not going to drain you. Each muscle is working minimally. So this workout actually jacks you up as opposed to taking away strength from you. So even after you get home from a game, you may be tired, but you can get on this machine and it'll wake you right up. So for the aggressive ball players, doing this in the morning and the evening will allow you to get these gains a lot faster than doing them just once a day. Now, the baseball emulator is also a motor memory trainer, an instigator. In other words, this is going to create motor memory for the mechanics so that you do not have to think about this when you're hitting. You can't be thinking about mechanics when you're hitting. You've got to be able to react. So when you store this information in motor memory, your brain retrieves it without you having to think about it. And that's going to help you have better mechanics without having to go through a mental process to duplicate that. Now I'm going to set the machine up for a different plane angle so you can see how this can adjust for different kind of swing planes. Okay, so to adjust this to a swing plane that's actually lower, this has got to go up. So I'll put my hand here, pull this out, I'm going to move this up 1 notch. It's going to raise this up. Now I've got to drop this down about 6 notches. And then I've got to move my foot rotation plate backwards about 6 inches. Now I'm going to be able to work on a pitch that's a little bit lower. See, this is going lower. And this pitch is like a little bit below my waist. So you have some freedom here when it comes to which swing plane. You want to be able to train to hit this high pitch up here. In the major leagues, pitchers try to keep you from hitting balls in the middle of the strike zone. And if they got 2 strikes on you, they're not going to throw anything close to the strike zone. And if they try to throw a pitch up here, the easiest pitch to hit that is outside of the strike zone is one that's up here. Why is it easier? Because it's closer to your eye level. And if you'll watch, there's a video on YouTube, and the link is on this webpage, of Sammy Sosa hitting a pitch that's up here. And he does a very deliberate thing before he hits that pitch. He finds the swing plane with his front elbow. So once he sees where the pitch is coming in, he brings his elbow up to that swing plane. And by the time he's hitting the pitch, his shoulders, his forearm, and the bat, they're all in the same plane. So by learning to hit a pitch that is up here, you are going to be able to hit something that's usually a throwaway pitch, and you'll be able to hit it for power. So now let's look at what this setup looks like if you're using this for throwing. As you can see, I've turned the machine around so you can see me doing this direction. So this was the setup for hitting that lower pitch. Now I'm going to go back to, I'm going to drop the plane angle. You notice I've taken some weight off of here. You're going to use a lot less weight for throwing than you do for hitting. So I'm going to drop this plane first here, and one notch. I'm going to take the baseball attachment. I'm going to screw it into the bottom of the handle here. You can leave this on if you want. I've taken this off just so you could see this demonstration for batting easier. Okay, so I'm going to take this attachment and put it in the other side. Because I'm using one hand, I have to have a longer amount of space for doing this. In other words, when I'm using one hand, my hand's going to be out further than I would be using if I had a batting position. I'm going to take this guy, put him back up here like so. Now I'm going to move this over here and go up here, pull out the pop pin, so this drops into the throwing slot. There we go. Now we're ready to do this. So again, your concept is to get your shoulders and your arms lined up with this plane angle up here. You got to be doing this in the mirror. You go back in the opposite sequence of coming forward. And that's all there is to it. Now, even if you're throwing up here or here, all pitchers throw sidearm. When I say sidearm, I mean the shoulder plane and the arm plane are the same. If you're throwing sidearm, this is what it looks like. So what they do is when they throw at higher angles, they're just tilting the shoulders. It's still a sidearm mechanical throw. And the reason for that is how this joint of the arm and the shoulder function. This does less damage to you than throwing down here or throwing up here. So that's why if you look at Major League pitchers in slow motion, the shoulder angle and the arm angle are always the same. Now this angle up here, this changes when you want to change the movement of the ball. So it does. You don't have to train up here for this. You can train here for this. You just, when you're throwing, you just got to tilt that shoulder. Same process for this as for batting. First day, you're going to do 2 sets of 15. Second day, 3 sets of 15. Third day, 4 sets of 15. And after a week, you can do this morning and evening. Now, there's also a rotator cuff exercise you do with this. And that's done with the surgical tubing down here. And you want to be movement specific with this. So if you're throwing on this angle, you want to do your rotator cuff exercises on the opposite angle, just like so. So for every one of these you do, you've got to do one of these. So if you're doing sets of 15, you got to do 15 of these guys. So that's it. That's how easy this stuff is to adjust and to use. If you got any questions, give me a call, send me an email. Let's get to this.